Okay. This is Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. If you can hear me, drop me a message in the comment section to just remind me that you can hear me. All right. Is anyone here? All right, so we've had the first two sessions. Day one, we discussed scholarship opportunities, strategies for winning scholarships. Day two, we discussed CV and SOP writing, which were identified on the first day as key components of your scholarship applications. And today, the third day, we are discussing a very important subject, the subject of networking. The subject of networking. And networking is so important that we all really need to start paying attention to it. We all need to start doing something about it. We all need to start getting intentional about building relevant networks. Okay? Okay. Just wondering if anyone can hear me. Let's see. The transmission seems to be having a bit of a challenge, but let me see what we can do to fix it. All right. Okay, so good. Everything is in order. All right, so let's have a look at the concept of professional networking. When we talk about networking, we are talking about something very important for every young graduate, and not just for the young graduates. Networking is also something very important even for the senior professionals. It's also key to those who are in business and who wish to make significant progress in their businesses. But today, we are going to focus mostly on how professional networking can be profitable to recent graduates and how it can be helpful to those who are looking for a move in terms of looking for a job, in terms of looking for a scholarship, in terms of looking for a new business opportunity that they would want to chase. So if you have joined me, let me know where you are joining from, and we are just making good progress. All right, so the first question that we may need to answer when it comes to networking is a question about defining networking itself. So when you hear the word networking, what comes to mind? What comes to mind when you hear networking, especially if you're talking about professional networking? I know that in the concept of computing, networking means one thing. And in several other aspects of life, networking can mean different things. But we are thinking of professional networking. So what does professional networking mean to you as a person? What does it mean to you as a person? Now, you take a look at the picture here and you see interconnected nodes, interconnectivity. There is a linkage from one person to the other person, or from one node to the other node, to the other connection, to the other connection. And that's basically how professional networking works. You see, you may start off from knowing one person, and then that person knows somebody else who knows three other people. And by the time you come into contact with that one person, the one person might be in the position to link you up with the other one person, who now links you up with the other three people. But while all these linkages are happening, it's not going to be a one-way traffic. So you are linking up with people, and people are linking up back with you. And that's how it becomes a network. There is communication from your side to the person, and there is communication from the side of the person to yourself. Now, in professional networks, there is going to be a level of mutual benefit. You are going to have something that you offer to the person is also going to have something that he offers to you. And we are going to see the various categories of networking and all the things that are involved, what you can offer at a given stage of networking or in one category of networking, and what that category or the other person in that category will offer you. And then, of course, when you move to the next category of networks, there is the offer you present might change. But also, the offer that the person in that category of network brings to you can also change. And that's why we want to start by describing the various layers, the various categories, the various segments of networking. All right. If you look at what is on the display just now, you will see what I call the SMJ networking pattern. All right, the SMJ networking pattern. Oh, just a moment. My screen was showing just me instead of the slides. So this is the slide I was describing when I was trying to discuss what networking means. But I believe you got that description already. So let's move on to the next slide for the sake of time. Now, on this slide, you find something that I call the SMJ pattern. Funny enough, there is a petrol station around the place I used to stay at some point. It's called SMJ. But this is not SMJ in that sense. It's not SMJ in any other sense. I'm going to describe what SMJ at this point means. Now, SMJ means that networking can be done in 3 different layers. And this is when you are talking about professional networking. And those 3 layers have 3 different calibers of, they have different offers that they bring to the table. And the offer you bring to the table when you get into any of those categories of network will slightly differ, and in some cases will differ significantly from what you bring to the table if you were engaged in the other category of network. So when we say SMJ, SMJ would stand for, S would stand for your seniors, M would stand for your mates, J would stand for your juniors. Now, somewhere on that side, I've also included a statement that says, or if you call it a phrase, or no, a clause, go global. All right? Because each of these categories of network that you see has a place in the global market. So you are not looking at your locality only. You are not looking at your village alone. You are not looking at your school alone. You are not looking at your city alone. You are not even looking at just your country when you think of professional networking. And the reason you are not doing that is because you've now got the opportunity with the power of social media to connect with the international community without having to travel out of your house. I mean, you don't even need to leave the comfort of your sitting room. You don't even need to leave the comfort of your bed if you really want to connect with the people outside of your country, because social media has made that very possible. All right, but let's get back to the categories of networking in the SMJ pattern. The first category I mentioned are your seniors. You can choose to put the order in different formats. Maybe start with your juniors, start with your mates, or start with your seniors. But for the purpose of this discussion, let's start with the seniors. Now, who are your seniors in the real sense of seniors? When I mention seniors in networking, I am referring to two categories of people. The ones who manage the opportunities you are interested in, and the ones who own the opportunities you are interested in. Those are the two categories of people I refer to as your seniors in networking. So they are the people who own the opportunities you are interested in, or the people who manage the opportunities you are interested in. Now, for the sake of the conversation, let's try to be a bit more focused on recent graduates. As a recent graduate, the opportunities you are interested in could either be scholarships, it could be jobs, and the other group of opportunities could be business opportunities, like you are looking for clients. But when you come into professional networking and you are looking at your seniors will be those people who manage those opportunities, and those people who are in charge. They own the opportunities or they manage them. Now, why are they important in your group of networks? If you are connected with somebody who owns an opportunity you are interested in, once you are able to convince that person that you have the right skills, then the process of your getting into that company or into that opportunity becomes very simplified. All right, because it's just like when you think of gravity. In the law of gravitation, if you throw something up, it's going to come down, right? But when you throw it up, in that process of going up, it's going to face a lot of resistance because it's going against natural laws, it's going against gravity. But if you are coming down from up, when that thing is falling from up, it's going to come down at a certain acceleration, depending on the location of of the object. But it's going to come down. There will still be air resistance, of course, but because it's in alignment with the law of nature, it's going to come down really fast and with very much ease. So if you have built a network and established a relationship with the person who is in charge of the opportunities you are interested in and the person who manages the opportunities you are interested in, once that person is convinced that you have the relevant skills, you have the right qualifications, you have the right knowledge to be able to deliver on that opportunity if you are hired into it, then your journey into that place becomes simplified, because all it takes is communication across the lower cadres of the industry or maybe the academia. So the person has to now maybe communicate that, well, I found this talent, this person seems good, seems fit for this purpose, and that's how it goes. Now, we can give several examples. I remember a young person then in Nigeria. I'm trying to remember his name now, but he's very young, from Futo, and he has this large following on LinkedIn. I think over 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. And I remember that there was a time when he got adopted by Elumelu into the Elumelu mentorship program or something like that. If he had not caught the attention of Tony himself, then his way into that particular mentorship program may have been tougher. He could have still got it, but catching the attention of Elumelu makes that process simpler. Now, what these people offer you, your seniors, is one, they are in the position to mentor you. They are also in the position to advise you on how to package your application. They are also, to be able to succeed. They are also in a position to tell you ahead of time when to expect openings. So because they are on the inside and they own these opportunities or they manage these opportunities, they know when the need for people of your category, of your caliber will come in the company or in the school. if you go to a place and you are speaking to a manager, that manager would know that, well, my team is 5 now, but based on business demand, we're going to expand to a team of 10. And this business demand is coming maybe somewhere in the next quarter of the year or somewhere in the first quarter of the following year. And those kind of information you will not have on the internet. It will not, sometimes you won't even have it in the open space. Now again, when it comes to foreign countries abroad, and I will say this typically with the UK, there are lots of companies in the UK that have a reward program for their staff. I'm dwelling much on this so that we understand the benefits of this networking. And then we're going to talk about some other things as we go down the line. Now, the people who have this kind of, who work in some of these companies have the privilege of, recommending people. And when they recommend a candidate and that candidate is successfully hired into the company and passes his or her probation, the candidate, the person who referred that candidate is given a reward, sometimes a financial bonus. So if you have been able to build the right kind of network, even the person who is your senior has some sort of incentive to recommend you. And that's why you need to understand and begin to focus on building this kind of network. Now, there are quite a number of things you can do when you relate with your seniors. You can offer them some help as well with things that they are not very familiar with. If the person, for instance, struggles with data analysis, you can volunteer your skill of data analysis to support the person. You can also support the person's programs on the internet. If, for instance, the person is a popular, makes posts on social media, you can contribute to supporting those posts through comments and through likes and through, just sort of try to be noticed by the person. And of course, you don't go into this kind of networking without having some value in the bag. We're going to talk more on some of these things later. Then the other category of people that you need to have in your network are your mates. Who are your mates? I believe this one doesn't need so much of explanation. Do we need to explain it? Who are your mates? So your mates are the people who are just your colleagues, I would call them. And your colleagues are those people who they are in the same position as yourself. And I'll tell you what, if you have your colleagues who have just recently graduated as yourself, you are looking for something similar to what they are looking for. And because you are looking for something similar, when this one sees an opportunity, you also stand a position or a good chance of seeing that same opportunity. This is because the mates, you are focused on the same thing. You are looking for a job or you are looking for a scholarship. So when that person finds a scholarship, he or she will post it. And that's why you can belong to some kind of common interest groups. Common interest groups, I mean, it could be a WhatsApp group, it could be a Facebook group, it could be anything. If you look at our WhatsApp group, for instance, most of the people who belong to that group are looking for something similar. They're either looking for scholarships or looking for jobs. Or maybe some form of career development or personal development kind of activity. But if one person finds a scholarship, he or she comes there and drops it. And so you don't miss out, you don't lose out on those opportunities. Now, what do you offer your mates? What you can offer your mates is a good friendship. And that's really what it is. A good friendship. That's what you offer your mates in networking. And in return, those mates of yours will also offer you good friendship. And with those good friendships will come mutual benefits. Now, on the other side, when you begin to create content on social media, for instance, on professional networking platforms, you will find that those who would support those posts mostly are going to be either your mates or your juniors. In fact, mostly your juniors. Then let's look at the juniors then. what do you offer your juniors, and why do you need them within your network? Your juniors are those who they are just your juniors, like you use the word in secondary school or in primary school, depending on where you studied. But your juniors are going to be the people who support you the most in the networking process. But in addition to them, in return for their support, you will be in the position to provide value to them. And you must provide that value. That's what makes you relevant to your juniors. You need to provide value to your juniors in order to remain relevant in that networking space. We're going to discuss more on some of these things, and you're going to see how they connect back with themselves and all that. So let's move on to the next stage of the networking discussion. There are a number of phases that you go through whenever you start a journey into networking. And if you are just joining us, this is the third day of a 3-day event hosted by Academy of Scholarships and Transitions, a workshop for recent graduates. And this workshop has been on it was on the 23rd. We had another session on the 24th, and today, the 27th, we're having the last edition of the workshop. So if you come to networking, there are a number of stages, and people very often would say that you have to follow these stages one after the other. But I'll tell you that you don't necessarily need to follow the stages one after the other. They would say, well, first you need to be in the building phase. Then you need to move on to the nurturing phase, and then you move on to the profiting stage. Now, the building phase is where you are reaching out, you are connecting, you are trying to be in the right places at the right time. Then the nurturing phase is your activities that go into establishing, deepening that relationship that you have found through the networking. So networking would always start from a very official position, but at the nurturing phase, you can move from that official position to a semi-official position. All right. So you are at that point where you are getting to know the person better. The person is getting to know you better. You are following up. And in addition to your following up, you are also showing the person the value you have. Like, the person can now see how much value you've got and what you can offer. But when you get to the profiting stage, that's when you make your pitch. Right? That's when you tell the person that this is what you can do. This is the service you offer, and this is the job or the scholarship you are looking for. But networking does not follow this rigid structure all the time. It doesn't. And the reason networking does not follow this rigid structure all the time is because sometimes it is your senior who is reaching out back to you. It's not you reaching out to the senior. And also, there are times when, for instance, you come into a networking environment and you know that there is an established need within a particular group or within a particular company. So if, for instance, a company, you have seen somewhere in the news that this company is having a shortage of this particular skilled manpower, and you have that skill, then you don't need to go through the phase of building the network, nurturing the network, and then before you move to the profiting stage. At that point, you can do this whole three in one day. So you come and then you find the person who is in charge, who owns that opportunity, and you kind of connect with the person. It could be in any kind of forum. You connect with the person and you immediately develop that relationship to a point where you can make a pitch. Now, at the point, what you are doing is, first contact is your connection. Then the stage where you explain to the person what, your understanding of their need is the nurturing phase. And then the stage where you make your pitch as to how you can solve that problem of the company or of the research group, that is you already moving to the profiting stage. Then again, there are times when, for instance, you are not even the one finding out the need, but a senior professional somewhere finds a need within his or her company or his or her research group, and then the person is looking for a solution. And in looking for that solution, you have got into a place and you made a presentation, and that person finds your presentation as a solution to their problem. So the person reaches out to you. You are not at this point trying to spend 2-3 months to nurture the network before you can make your offer or before you can make your pitch. You're not going to spend all that time to do that. Now, the things I'm discussing today are relevant to every young graduate, every graduate in the actual sense. You need to understand that all those rigid structures you have been given somewhere, that, oh, you have to connect first, you have to wait for 6 months before you talk. The reality is that people are very busy in life sometimes, especially at the upper echelons. And they are not very open to having all the hi, hello, how are you, how was work conversation on a daily basis. So if your idea of nurturing a network is to continue to exchange those kind of pleasantries, the person may very easily get bored, and the person may not have the patience to continue that conversation to the point where you are able to make your pitch. So there are times when you make it clear that this is what you need, and this is what you are looking for, even from the onset. And these are the various categories of networking. I'm going to show us a couple of examples, and hopefully I might be able to share some personal experiences to some extent. It's not everything that happens that somebody can talk about on social media, but if you follow the conversation, you will learn a lot of things from what I'm going to say and the things I have already said. Now, when you are nurturing your network, what are some of the things you should do? You need to follow up, right? And following up can be, one, you appreciating the person, because if you get in touch with somebody who is your senior or even your mate or your junior, you need to show some level of appreciation. If, for instance, you go into a place and you realize that the president of your country is in that place, and you're able to have a chat with that president, and the president gives you like a business card or his or her business card, by the time you go back to your house, you don't want to fold your hands. You want to drop a message that says, well, I am this person who met you in this occasion, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to, the chat we had or the insight you shared with me. There has to be something that you'll be grateful for whenever you meet somebody that's big, and that is you following up. Then there could also be times when there are strategic events that you can take advantage of in your follow-up efforts. If, for instance, the person you are getting connected with is somebody who is very passionate about his or her birthdays, the person's birthday can be an opportunity for you to link up, for you to follow up, for you to show that you actually stand out in, that the person is significant and the person is relevant to you. There are a couple of other events. Some can be religious events. Some others can be when the person's company is celebrating something, some kind of achievement that they have reached or some kind of milestone. You can send those kind of messages and use those opportunities to connect or to follow up. The other thing is, when you nurture your network, you need to be very sincere. You need to be very, very sincere. Now, there is nothing that kills relationships as quickly as insincerity. The moment somebody understands that you are insincere, your profile before that person goes from top to bottom. You lose so much value for being insincere or for being untruthful. So be sincere. If you know you can't do something, don't tell somebody that you can do it. If you know that you don't have the capacity to do something, don't claim that you can do it. There are, of course, some instances where a business person says that, well, I can deliver on this, because in business sometimes the first answer is yes. But that's on the basis that he is able or she is able to mobilize a team to deliver on that, not necessarily because he or she has the inherent capacity to deliver that particular project, but he can mobilize. you can speak to an oil and gas engineer who has his specialty in drilling, and the person says, well, if you have a project in reservoir engineering, bring it on and my team will deliver. He's banking, or she is banking, on the strength of his team. In that case, the person is not being insincere. The person is trying to showcase the capacity of the team that's behind him or her, or that person's ability to mobilize a team to deliver on a project. But let's say, for instance, you are a student and you are looking for scholarship, and somebody says that this scholarship needs high-end expertise on Python programming, and you know you don't have that level of expertise, and you will not be able to develop that level of expertise within the period between the day you are applying and the day you are starting the day you are supposed to resume on the study. If you go on to say that you have the expertise, you may eventually be hired, or you may get busted at the interview stage, where the person now finds out that, well, this one is not really who he says or who she says she is or he is. And at that point, your profile goes down. If you are in an industry like the oil and gas industry, which is relatively small and has multiple networking activities in a year, if you get your profile tainted in that form, you may struggle for the rest of your life in that industry within that environment, because the news circulates very easily, and the person, of course, is going to remind somewhere, maybe not intentionally to damage your name, but the person is going to somewhere in a conversation mention that there was a particular student who applied, who claimed to have had all these skills, and then we discovered he did not have them. Or we hired the person, wasted a whole lot of money to bring this person in, and then realized that this person cannot deliver anything close to what he or she claims to be able to deliver. So in that nurturing stage, be genuine, offer good value, and then expand your circle. So don't network when you come into networking, look at it as a web. And I'm going to share some things just down the line. Look at it as a web. Don't look at it as, two persons only. Look at networking as there is you here, you are the one person. Now, behind you, there are let's say 4 other people. You are this, and then behind you, there are about 4 other people, which makes 5. Behind the person you are networking with are 4 other persons as well, and in many cases, multiple other persons who also come into that network. So when you look at networking, think of it as, I am connecting with this person, but behind this person, there are lots of other people that I can connect with. And I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of other people's network when you start building a network by yourself. Then, in this, we move on to the next slide, and we will discuss something. You see, there are lots of platforms where you can build your network on. Different platforms where you can build your network. So one of those platforms for networking, or one of those very popular platforms for networking, will be your what is called physical events. But before we go to physical events, let's start from the alumni groups, because those ones are really the easiest ones you can break into. The alumni group of your institution. In the alumni group of your institution, you know what it means, like a group for people who have graduated from your school. That group will be a very soft landing for you. And sometimes, if you are from a place where people are really very open to helping people, you will realize that the alumni groups have sort of some attachment to themselves. If you go to a workplace and you find somebody who is from Uniben, or you find 4 people from University of Nigeria and Nsukka, you see that there is a level of bond they build within themselves. And if sometimes there is that bias that comes in, that if somebody is from a particular institution and there is a job applicant or a scholarship applicant who has a history as an alumni or alumnus of that school, the person would feel a sense of attachment, emotional kind of attachment. And sometimes you also don't blame them, because that's the place they know, they understand the quality of the training that this person must have gone through. So if the school is a very good place, then your alumni group can be a very good place to start your networking journey. So you have this network of people who graduated from that department that are already working, already on different scholarships in different companies. If you reach out to them to say, well, I have just graduated from this school or from this department, and I am interested in seeking further studies, so I'm at this point looking for job opportunities within this particular field, please let me know if you come across any opportunities. Many of them will respond with very positive feedbacks. Many of them will respond with very positive feedbacks, and those feedbacks are going to really be helpful to you. Now, if you move on from the alumni groups, the other place where you can really find a solid network for yourself will be in professional bodies and professional associations. I believe most of the professions have one professional body or one regulatory body or the other. In engineering, you will have like a society or an academy of engineers in your country, and within that society or academy, you will still have subsections for maybe mechanical engineers, electrical and electronic engineers. You will have one for petroleum engineers, and all of those kind of places. These are very good platforms to network. And sometimes, again, these professional bodies and associations also provide you opportunities for membership, for mentorship. If you do not belong to anyone yet, try to get yourself acquainted or associated with one. Now, in addition to the opportunities they will provide to you in terms of the mentorship, in terms of the knowledge, they conduct a lot of technical conferences and technical meetings. And in all of those technical meetings, you will find people there whose offices you may never be able to get into if you don't go to those networking events. I was in an event in a conference recently, and I met a commissioner from Nigeria, and I met a former senator from Nigeria. I met who else? There were some real big business people from Nigeria. And all of these people I'm mentioning today, if I was to see a commissioner in Nigeria, you know what it would take you to see a commissioner who is not even from your state and then have a chat with the person. But when you go to all these professional events, they bring this caliber of people in. And in those professional events, because these are professions and careers that they themselves are passionate about, they are willing and very open to talk to younger people, speak to young professionals, discuss, network, and you can share your ideas, pitch your ideas to them, let them know what you are doing, the help you need, and all that kind of thing. And sometimes you never can tell, but they may just change your life immediately. Now, all these things I have mentioned, the alumni group sometimes come with a financial cost. You may be required to pay some amount of money to subscribe or some kind of contribution to your university or to your institution at some point. The other one, the professional body memberships, will also come. You will need to pay some money to become a member of most professional associations. However, if you are a 7-core member, if you are a copper, Nigerians would understand this. Like, if you are at a stage where you are doing a voluntary work, then you can request for a waiver in some professional associations, and they will waive your membership fee for the period when you are not working or when the work you are doing is a compulsory government service or a volunteering activity. You can request for those waivers. I know that when I was doing my National Youth Service, I had my membership of Society of Petroleum Engineers renewed, and I did not have to pay money for that period. So, all of these, the technical conferences, sometimes they can happen free of charge, but in most cases, conferences will come at a fee. The conference that will be organized by the Society of Petroleum Engineers in Nigeria sometime in August, in the first week of August, to participate or to attend that conference, you will pay somewhere around 120,000 naira to be able to participate and, take advantage of the networking opportunities, listen to the technical presentations and all that. But there is another platform for networking that doesn't really need you to pay any special fee, because whether or not you use this particular platform or not, you will still make your data subscriptions, because as a student and as a young graduate, you will still need your data subscriptions to keep touch with information. And I know that most of us who are watching this event today are somewhere on one social media platform or the other. And if you're on any social media platform, you must definitely be subscribing for one data, or subscribing for internet access from one company or the other. But sometimes we as human beings are tempted to spend the money and spend the time on frivolities. And these frivolities will include comedies, this will include pranks, this will include all the other things that are irrelevant, gossips, and all the blogs that are completely irrelevant to you. There are lots of all those distractions saturating the internet, and that's what many people focus and spend their time on. But if you move on from that if you move on from that stage in your life to now become intentional about your use of social media platforms, then social media platforms is one of the social media platforms will give you the best platform to network, unlimited access to networking opportunities. So long as you have the skills, so long as you have the knowledge, so long as you have what to showcase, then social media is one of your greatest assets as a young graduate. And you must learn how to use it. And I'm going to take an example from the most professional social media platform to tell us or to teach us how to use social media platforms for networking. Now, if you are somewhere outside of Lagos, you may not be able to attend the SPE event that's coming up, because except you have some money with you. Because even if you pay the 120,000 registration fee, you will still need to think of accommodation. You will still need to think about how you feed yourself, and then you will still need to think about how you transport yourself to Lagos for that event and back to your location. All of this will cost you additional money, but they are good, and as much as possible try to attend. I do myself, I attend professional events, I pay for them, the ones I can afford. But if you are a recent graduate and we're making the assumption that you don't have all the money to pay for every conference, then social media becomes the place you should go to, and that becomes the platform you should use most effectively for your networking. Cut down on the frivolities, cut down on the things that are irrelevant, cut down on the comedies, cut off from the comedies, from the pranks, from all of those things that are not adding professional value to you. Cut off from them and then focus properly on using social media effectively. The example I'm going to give us will be an example from how to use LinkedIn, and I will also share some insight as to why LinkedIn is a very important tool in the hands of every young professional and every graduate. All right, so if you are on this call or following this live event and you have a LinkedIn account, drop your LinkedIn profile account in the comments section of this video after the event, so that every other person, drop it with a message about what you do and who you are, so that every other person who comes across this video can connect with you. That's the beginning of your networking life. So we're getting started on networking And that's why this is a workshop. All right. So at the end of this event, go grab your LinkedIn profile and then come and post it in the comments section. But before that, let's know who is following today and who amongst us has a LinkedIn account. I have one myself. Do you have a LinkedIn account? Let's see what the comment section says. If you have a LinkedIn account and you are listening at the moment, just let me know. You can just drop a yes in the comment section. If you don't have one, then say no so that I know how we make progress in the next stage of the conversation. Do you have a LinkedIn account? Let me know in the comments section. Waiting just for a moment. All right, any responses? Let's see. Any responses? Okay, yeah, so somebody says I have been following, you're clearly heard watching from the UK and all that. Okay, so let's continue and make progress regardless. So when you now go and start using these social media platforms profitably, you will see a lot of benefits and you will not spend a fortune to be able to take advantage of the networking opportunities that these platforms present. So let's go straight to look at LinkedIn and how you should be using that platform and why. So we talk about LinkedIn and some of this data here. I took this data from Copilot. So if you find something that is different from this, know that this is from Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and this is what it gave me. So I was trying to search for some data concerning LinkedIn because very often people ask me, why do you talk about LinkedIn all the time when you mention networking? I talk about it very often because of two things. One is I have used the platform very well for different things. I've used it for sales. I've used it to get jobs. I know how to use it to get scholarships and all that. So I also have been in the phase of staying in the inbox and in the phase of the open box on LinkedIn. And I know the differences between LinkedIn and Facebook and even between them, between LinkedIn and Twitter. And so if you take, for instance, some of these statistics, you will also understand why you should be on the platform. In fact, if you check for how many persons are on LinkedIn and how many of them have more than 500 followers, you will realize that the percentage is small. And if you begin to look at how many have 1,000 followers and above, the percentage comes smaller. When you now look at those who have up to 5,000 followers, the percentage keeps decreasing. What that tells you is that on LinkedIn, you still, while the platform is very rich and very solid, you still have the advantage to make quick progress and become an influence, to develop and build influence, to get easily noticed on LinkedIn. It's a lot easier to become noticed on LinkedIn if you do the right things than it is for you to get noticed on Twitter or on Facebook. Now, let's say that the data from Copilot is correct. It says that more than 2 billion people use LinkedIn from about 200 countries of the world. And that's why I mentioned you thinking of yourself as a global person in the sense of networking, because you can connect very easily with almost the rest of the world. Then there are 67 million companies registered on LinkedIn. So all the companies that you probably have thought of, you probably have heard of, the big name companies, they are all registered on LinkedIn. And of course, they publish their job advertisements, their staff are there, they're going to share those job opportunities. The professors are there as well, they're going to share those scholarship opportunities. All of those people are there. And that's why
I call it a gold mine. There are lots of opportunities that you can access. There are lots of people that can help you to access those opportunities. And now it begins to get interesting. Most of the people who use LinkedIn spend very small time on LinkedIn per month. And the reason is because it's not filled up yet, it's not yet saturated with entertainment. Because human beings are so inclined towards entertainment that if you give them something that's knowledgeable, something of value in terms of you're trying to teach something, most people will lose the patience to listen. All right. And again, because very often when you try to impact knowledge, you are going to have to run that session for a while. You are going to make that video for a certain period of time so that you're able to like communicate the idea to a point where people can understand it. Then even if you are doing writing, the writing, when you write to train people or to teach people, the writing would always, in many cases, come either as a thread or come as a long piece of writing. And these are the things that many people are not interested in reading. So when people come onto LinkedIn, they get easily bored and they run away because they are not seeing the entertaining things that they see on Facebook. So they run back to Facebook for the entertainment. They run back to Instagram for the entertainment. They run back to Twitter for the buzzwords, as it's called in Nigeria, and all that kind of thing. So on LinkedIn, people tend to be more professional and write more about things that are of impact, celebrate achievements. So it's dry, and that's why you see people, they come onto LinkedIn, they open the app, and 1-2 scrolls of pages, they are gone. But if you decide, what that tells you now is that if you make conscious efforts, you decide to kill that urge to always run away when you come to the platform, you will be one of the few who will find opportunities there, and one of the limited number of people who actually stay through to apply for the opportunities they find. All right, so these are the kind of numbers we see. And why is it a very big gold mine? Most of the people, 44% of users of LinkedIn, earn somewhere in the range of $75,000 a year. This data is most likely a reflection of what is in the US. In your country, they may not earn as much per year. The numbers might not be as high. But the point is this: most of the people on LinkedIn have good earning capacity at the moment, or they have the powers to earn in the future, the potential to earn high figures in the future. So even if you are looking at doing business, LinkedIn is actually one of the places where you have people with the capacity to buy. Now, let me remind us of something. When I talked about your seniors and your juniors in this slide, I tried to mention to us that your seniors are those who have the opportunities you are looking for, and that's the owners of the opportunities and the managers of the opportunities. These managers can be HR people, they can be professors, associate professors, CEOs, managers, and all that. But the other thing that comes with these seniors is they have the capacity to buy your services as at today. So if you are not the graduate who is looking for job or employment, these are still the people who have the capacity to buy your service or your skills today, to pay for your services or to pay for your skills or to pay for your product. So imagine that somebody earns, as stated here, 75,000 USD, and you are selling a good that it sells for maybe a unit, or a dozen of that good goes for, let's say, $500. This person can comfortably buy your $500 good, your $500 goods, because the person has the money. The person can pay. The person has the capacity as at today to pay. But when you look at your mates and your juniors may not have the capacity to pay for your services today, but there is something they also have that you need to position yourself to be able to take advantage of. Remember, I mentioned that LinkedIn will have, even if it doesn't have 45% in your country earning $75,000 a year, then it still has people who have the capacity or the potential to earn high numbers in the future. Those people with those potential are your juniors and your mates. And the way it works is that if you want to remain relevant for a long time, then that's when you need to have this three tripod kind of chain in your network. But if you are just looking for a benefit today, then you may focus just on your seniors, get the job, get the scholarship, and that's it. But you should be positioning yourself for influence and for continued relevance. So if you want to position for continued relevance, of course, your seniors are ahead of you. They are going to retire at some point. They're going to be less active on social media at some point. Their buying interest will wade off at some point. Their earning potential sometimes can decline if the person has not invested heavily. Once that person retires, the earning potential or the earning power goes down. So the person may not be in the position to buy your services at the point when you have perfected your services to a high paying service. So if your service today, let's say you are an early career website developer or an early career software developer, and you have a senior today who is willing to pay for your services, that person might pay you $2,000 today for your service. But in the future, in the next 10 years, you become a senior software developer, right? At that point, your market value has increased. But this senior who is paying you $2,000 today probably has retired at that point. And because the person is retired and no longer very active in the marketplace for buying things, now the people who will need that service and that skill at that point will be somebody within your mates, somebody in your juniors. And this is now the time when your service can cost maybe $10,000. If you focused all your energy on just the seniors without building a network of your mates and your juniors, then you are going to lose out at that critical point where you actually should be making more money and making more profit. The same thing applies. If you don't have a network, or if you quarrel with all your mates and all your juniors, then by the time you are due for higher positions in the industry, you may not have people in other places that will show you opportunities there, because by that time the seniors whom you focused on today are all retired. And as you know, with retirement very often comes a waning power, or how do I call it, a declining influence, except the person is very intentional about it. So that's what you need to know about LinkedIn, and that is why you should get active on that platform. If you don't have a LinkedIn account and you are following me, then you are not my follower. If you are following me and you don't have a LinkedIn account, then you are not my follower. You need to go get one for yourself. So let's continue. Now, when you look at LinkedIn, we've talked about why you need that platform. Of course, everything I'm going to say now, many of them you can repeat on any other social media platform, but I'm using LinkedIn as a case study, and I'm going to do a demo, and that demo will be based on LinkedIn. So let's have a look at this. When you come to the platform, how do you identify the relevant professionals? How do you identify the right people to connect with? How do you identify that, okay, this person is relevant to me, the other person is not relevant to me? How do you narrow down? The first thing is you must define your purpose. And when I say define your purpose on social media, in fact, you need to define your purpose even on Facebook. You need to define your purpose of being online as a human being. Because if you don't define that purpose, the algorithms will give you a purpose. The social media algorithms will give you a purpose if you don't define your purpose. And very often, the purpose the algorithms will send to you or suggest to you will be a very frivolous purpose. If you come to social media and you are not intentional about looking for something profitable, you will while away your time doing things that are completely irrelevant and completely unprofitable. So in professional networking, how do you identify the people that you want to connect with? You need to define your purpose. Are you coming here to search for jobs? Are you coming here to search, for business development opportunities? Are you coming here for scholarship search? Are you also trying to position yourself as a thought leader? So any of these will sort of modify the approach that you come with. And I'm going to give a typical example. If you are looking for scholarships and international scholarship is your focus, your best bet, the best category of professionals you'll be working with are not you should be looking for, are not the CEOs of companies. The CEOs are not going to give you scholarship in most cases. They are not the chief operating officers of companies. They are not the chief financial officers or the chief accountants of companies. These are not the people you are looking for. You're not even going to be looking for human resource managers in this case. And you will now identify that the best category of professionals you should be looking for as a scholarship seeker will be the professors. There will be the associate professors, the doctors, and the research students. Because they know when the scholarships open, they are very much committed to sharing those opportunities. And of course, you can then take advantage of their own network, as I already discussed. But if you are looking for a job, now this is in the short term. Because in the long-term game, you are looking at also expanding to the industry professionals, because you will at some point complete that research and that study you are going to do. And then, of course, when you complete that research, you may want to work in the industry or in the government, in one consulting firm or the other, in one organization or the other. And that's why you also need to build that network with those other categories of professionals. But for the immediate need, you need to expand your network with professors and be intentional about those people. I say this because the professors are always going to either own graduate assistantship opportunities or manage graduate assistantship opportunities themselves, and their associates and sometimes some doctors in the academia will always be the ones that own these opportunities. If you don't know what a graduate assistant does or what graduate assistantship means, then refer back to the first day of this workshop. You will get a clear explanation there. So for those who are looking for business development opportunities, you can approach it in two different ways. You can talk to people who will buy units of your service or your good from you. But you can also talk to those who manage the people, those people that will, in the real sense, buy. Because by the time you target those who are managers that need that service, then they go back to convince the company, and you probably establish longer term relationships or longer term service providing relationships that way. All right. So after you've defined your purpose, if you have any questions, just keep them for the end of the event. You have opportunity to ask some questions. Unfortunately, you will not be able to speak because it's a YouTube live, but feel free to type your questions in the comment section. Then after you've defined your purpose, then you need to narrow down to the industry where you want to operate in. For me, I am from the oil and gas background, but I prefer to operate more within the oil and gas sphere and the energy industry. So the energy industry in this case would include fossil fuel, all the non-fossil, that's the renewable, sustainable energy sources and all that. I love to operate within that space. But that does not mean that I don't have professional networks from the accounting and from all the other areas of life. The reason I have this broad network is because sometimes what you need is an accountant. And sometimes who you need is a lawyer. Sometimes who you need is just some other person that is not directly from your field. Say, for instance, you have a problem with your taxes or with your tax record. The person you need at that stage is not an engineer. You need an accountant. And so if you don't have a network of accountants within your reach, you may struggle to get that problem sorted and get that problem solved. But if you do have those accountants, you can very easily speak to them, get your answers, and get advice on the right things to do. So choose the field within which you are operating. And then you need to understand the power distribution in that field. Who is the most powerful person in your field, and who in the real sense owns the opportunities in your field, and who in the real sense manages the opportunities in your field, and then who are those in your field that are in the industry or in the positions, but they cannot influence things on your behalf. Or not, if I use the word influence, it will sound negative, but they cannot, they are not very relevant in the decision making process, I would say. For instance, if you are looking for a scholarship, your industry in this case, let's say, is the academia, and you are spending all your time with a bachelor's degree student in a particular school, but you are interested in coming to the school to do a PhD, you may find out that you are wasting your time, because that bachelor's degree student does not have a say in the decision-making process that will get you into the school. And that bachelor's degree student does not have the relevant information, or may not have the relevant information, that will help you to understand how to prepare for the interview and get to the school. So the person is not in the position of managing the opportunity, and the person does not own the opportunity. In addition to that, the person has limited knowledge about the opportunity you are chasing. He has no experience, she has no experience, she has never been there, he has never been there. So you need to understand the power distribution in your industry. I'm not saying this to talk down any bachelor's degree student. What I'm just trying to do is to give an example that helps you understand how the power or how the forces in your industry can be for you, or you may be spending your time without having so much benefits. Then the other thing, you need to now understand your own position. You have defined your purpose, you have selected your industry, you have understood the power distribution in your industry. Then where is your own position? Where do you fall in that ladder of power and that ladder of influence in your own industry? If you ask me where I am in the oil and gas industry as at today, I can tell you. And if you ask me where I want to be in the oil and gas industry in the next couple of years, I can tell you. If you ask me where I want to be in the energy space, I can give you an idea. All right? And because I understand my current position in the industry, I know what to say and I know when to say them. Or I have a good idea of what to say, when to say them, and what not to say, and how not to say things on social media platforms. There are things you see on social media platforms today that will hinder you from getting certain kind of jobs. There are posts you will make today on LinkedIn, and you may be positioning yourself for being unemployed for a long time. So that is why you need to understand your position. Are you the expert, or you are the upcoming expert? If you are not the expert in that field, if your power positioning is not the expert authority yet, then do not engage yourself in unnecessary arguments with the experts. Or maybe not unnecessary might not be the word, but don't engage yourself in unguided arguments with the experts. Then the other thing you do in order to find the relevant professionals in your field, or the place you should use to find them, is your LinkedIn search bar. I'm going to demonstrate how to use that function shortly, because I tell people that is the most powerful tool on LinkedIn. That search bar function is the most powerful tool, the most powerful gift that LinkedIn as a platform has given to all of us. And somebody like me is grateful for that. I don't know about you. If you have used it well, you will be as grateful as myself. So let's then look at what's next. So by the time you get to the platform, what else will you do? You get into that LinkedIn platform, and how do you begin to use it profitably as a networking tool? Remember, we've talked about networking from the general sense and why we are focusing on this. The things you need to improve on in order to have a successful networking effort we're going to talk about. Now, how do you position yourself on LinkedIn and other social media platforms in order to help you as a young graduate? I'm going to look at it in, I mentioned this on the first day of our event. I was going to talk about this slide. Now, the first thing you do is you have defined all those purposes, you have done all those things, right? The next thing you have to do is, when you get to that platform, you need to optimize your profile on the platform. And, if you have heard about profile optimization before, you will know that there are people who charge money to teach people or to help people optimize people's profiles. And profile optimization is not as simple as you going to upload a picture. It's not as simple as you going to write that you graduated from an institution. It's not as you going to write that you are interested in scholarships. It is more than that. And recently, I had the opportunity of working with somebody on his profile, and you could see the gaps. You could see the gaps there. The gaps were just obvious. And why are the gaps obvious? Because when people think about optimization, they are not thinking about the end game. So you think about profile optimization in two dimensions. What do you want people to search for you and find you for? And what do you want people to know you for? So if somebody goes here to search for me or to search for this particular group of professionals, I want to be found. And then I want people to also know me for this particular thing. Now, in addition to that, you also want people to know where you want to be in the future. Now, how does all these things work? Let me make it make sense to you. So on your profile, somebody should be able to say that, okay, I look at this profile, I know that this person is an engineer in this particular field with this particular group of experiences and this particular level of skills. And I know that this person is interested in this kind of opportunities, maybe a new job, maybe a new offer, a scholarship, and all that. Then I also want to put my profile such that if somebody does not directly stumble on my profile and the person goes to the search function and is looking for something, asking for, let's say, well abandonment engineers or for teachers, when that person types teachers, I will show up. So profile optimization is your personal equivalent of search engine optimization that people do when they write blog articles. So in blogging, people try to structure their articles in a certain way, use certain kind of keywords for which they want to be ranked on Google. So you also have to identify those keywords, those titles, those job functions, those scholarship kind of activities or those scholarship groups that you want to be identified for or you want to be found for. You want to include those things somewhere in your profile and then of course somewhere in your write-ups. I say this because I have had those kind of engaged situations where recruiters reach out to me and they tell me that my profile showed up on their LinkedIn search, or they were looking for people and my profile showed up. That's because my profile is optimized for that particular kind of job title or job function. Now, your profile optimization does not end in you editing your profile. Profile optimization goes on into the posts that you make, into the kind of content you create. Because when you create content and you use those relevant keywords, you are also improving your chances of being found and you are increasing your voice as somebody who has expertise in this particular field. And that is what you need to do as somebody who is optimizing his or her profile. Now, when you do the profile optimization, the next thing is, how do you make profitable use of these platforms and position yourself well? The first thing is you need to also learn that at some point when you are purposeful on LinkedIn, you cut down on your random connection requests. random connection requests. So there is something on LinkedIn that is called personalized invitations. And back in the days, personalized invitations were not as limited as they are today. In the current year or in the current month, presently on LinkedIn, you can only send 4 personalized invitations in a month, including myself, except you go on to premium accounts. But a random connection request does not necessarily mean that you have not personalized it. I will make it make sense now. When you go to LinkedIn and you are purposeful about something, you are searching for scholarships, you go to that search bar, you look for professors in a particular country of interest. You are already making your connection request purposeful, because at this point you are not randomly sending out something. You are sending to professors in your field in the country of interest. So you are not being a random person in this case. But there are people who do not search for anybody. They just see any profile and they send a connection request. That will help you to build your connection base, but you may not have the right connection to help you when you need some help. So as much as you want to build a very large crowd or following, you also want to have within that crowd people that can deliver you when you need deliverance, in that sense of professional deliverance, I mean. So you want to be purposeful. You want to cut down on the random connection request, and all your personalized invitations, I would say emphatically that you reserve those for your senior professional connection requests. Don't go to connect with your mates and you are doing a personalized invitation when there is just 4, or when there are just 4 of them that you can use in a month. So you want to reserve your personalized invitations for your seniors. That's the way I do it, and that's the way you should be doing it if you want profitable networking on LinkedIn. The other thing is, I've explained that use personalized invitations. They are key. They are very important when you connect with senior professionals, because it helps the person to see what you can offer him or her, or the reason to connect, who you are, why you are connecting, or what you offer as a network or as somebody in the person's network. Now, people will ask, and somebody has asked me this question before. So since the personalized invitations are just 4 at the moment, how do I connect with more senior professionals in a month? And that is what I will tell you, that you use constructive commenting. It will always be helpful. And you take advantage of other people's posts to achieve this. So if you come to a post, you may have noticed this on LinkedIn. If you come to a post and 400 people, or you commented on a post, and 2 days down the line or 3 days down the line, somebody else goes to comment on that post, LinkedIn will tell you that somebody commented on this post. And it's not just you, it's notifying all the people who have engaged with that post, who have interacted or reacted to that post. So it will give that notification. And imagine that you are looking for the CEO of, let's say, Halliburton, and your personalized invite has finished for the month. So you go to the profile of the person and you find a post that he has made, and you write a comment on that post, a constructive comment. I will explain what constructive comments are shortly. You write a constructive comment on that post. So the person, that CEO of Halliburton, now sees that this person has written a comment on my post. At the point you have made that comment on a couple of posts, of course, you may not send a connection request immediately on the first day, but if you do the comment one day, do it another day on another post, then by the 3rd day, the person has already familiarized with your name, and at that point can already see why he or she should connect with you. And then at that point, you can send an unpersonalized connection request to him or to her, to the CEO, and the CEO will most likely accept that connection request. There is something many people do. They just come and then they write a comment. When you are targeting somebody and you want to get that person into your network, then don't just write a comment on the person's post or a post that the person has shared. Tag that person in your comments. And I believe if you don't know how to tag people, I'm going to show us today. So what is constructive commenting? Constructive commenting will always be powerful and it will always be useful. The other advantage is, before we explain that, the other way you take advantage of other people's network is that when you comment on that post, all the people who have reacted on that person's post will know that you have commented, and then those people will most likely go visit your profile because you have made a constructive comment on that post, a comment that sort of either expands the conversation or opens a new chapter of that conversation. So the comment either contributes to that conversation or expands or opens a new chapter on the conversation. The example I love to give when I talk about constructive commenting is from the climate change environment or the climate change subject. So if somebody goes to write a post on LinkedIn, a very senior professional, and writes something about how climate change is impacting food security in Europe, and then a lot of people are reacting, expressing their feelings and saying the things that they want to say. Some will be arguing, some will be saying in support. Then a constructive comment on that post could be a comment that contributes to that conversation. Maybe some additional relevant data that has been missed out, or maybe some references that has been missed out on the original post, or that brings a new picture, that opens a new chapter of that conversation. So chapter 1 was treated by the person who wrote the post, and that is the impact of climate change on food security in Europe. Chapter 2 can be somebody who comes to either open up the same kind of conversation in the comment section about the impact of climate change on food security in Africa, or the impact of food security in North America, or the impact of food security in the impact of climate change on food security in your specific country. Again, you may now try to, even if you are not talking about food security, you can open another chapter of the impact of climate change on flooding. That's if the person has not touched on that. Or the impact of climate change on the subjects that people are studying in school today, because the whole conversation about climate change is also reshaping the academic world and reshaping the kind of courses that people are planning to or going into these days. You might see a lot of people going into energy transition courses. You might see some oil and gas engineers leaving the oil and gas profession and moving into renewable energy, or moving from the oil and gas into data analytics, because they fear that they don't have job security because of the climate change situation, or at least because of the information that people circulate about the climate change. Whether or not they should be concerned is subject for another day's discussion, but these are the ways you can open a new chapter on a conversation on social media, and any of those will be considered a constructive comment. Very often I would recommend that you start those conversations by tagging the person, thanking the person, and then appreciating the work the person has done while you move on to your own contribution. If you do this a number of times, if you do this consistently for a period of time, your network will grow and your network will be very relevant to your field. I have used engineering, I've used energy transition. You can use law, you can use tax or accounting, you can use education. It could be the impact of anything on education. It could be anything, but try to make your comments on social media constructive. Don't be one of those who just come and say or like a post and go away when you know that you have a target. I can afford these days to like a post and leave. Sometimes, not all the time, because maybe I am not particularly interested in people within that person's network, or I am not particularly interested in the post, something of that kind. But as much as possible, comment constructively. Now, while you are commenting constructively, all of what you are saying today are useful to both those who are looking for jobs, those who are doing business, and those who are looking for scholarships. Forget the fact that scholarship is the title on top there. I'm going to show you where it is specifically scholarship. Now, the other thing is you need to at some point go from consuming to creating. You can't consume all your time, all your life. You are not a Dead Sea that consumes and never gives out, or you are not a Dead Sea that doesn't give out. You should be one of those who consume, in terms of you see other people's comments, but you need to give out value. You need to create value for the people on any of the places you are connecting with people. It could be on social media, it could be in professional conferences. When you go for conferences, don't just sit there and fold your hands and shy away from talking. Sometimes rise and ask questions. That's you contributing, that's you creating something. You can rise and make a presentation. You can rise and answer a question that's being asked. As little as even when the presenter is trying to get feedbacks from the audience, rise and answer a question. Show your own skills. Now, in the area of creating, let's also include the fact that you need to bring skills along into networking, whether it's online, whether it's offline, whether it's in conferences or on social media. You need to bring skills, you need to bring knowledge, because the knowledge you have and the skills you have are the bedrock or the source from which you draw inspiration on, or from the source from which you draw your post. That's the source of your inspiration, your knowledge, your skills, your understanding, the things you know. You can't write if you don't know anything. You can't create if you are skillless. So you need some skills, and you need to go from consuming to creating. I'm going to discuss this again towards the end, and I will show you how it looks like on an impact funnel. So now, if you are looking for scholarships, those are the categories who should focus on professors. And of course, like I mentioned, the professors are they have an immediate gain for you, an immediate advantage for you. But you also need to look at the industry, because the industry is where most likely you will end up with a job, or the government institutions. You need to look at those places where you intend to work and start building your network into that environment as soon as possible. I'll tell you that before I moved to the UK, I had already grown my network of professionals within the oil and gas industry in the UK, because I started and I knew that when I come to the UK, this is the industry I'm going into, this is the new environment, and I started to position myself to be able to relate with people. And it didn't take long before met with this person, met with the other person, the other one referred me to the other person, and things happened the way they happened, and they have been good. So if you are looking for jobs, you know that the managers and the CEOs, the HR people, they are the ones who have the opportunities you are looking for and who manage the opportunities you are looking for. You can do all of this on any of the platforms, on Facebook or any place. Just try the most you can to make good use of this. Now, this particular one is a slide I developed for a bigger audience, where I was speaking to an audience that had business owners or those who are intending to start up their businesses. And that's where you begin to see some differences, because if you are running a business, it's a different game from if you are looking for a job. As a business person, you might start looking at conducting webinars. Sometimes you can look at doing P2P, B2B, like person to person, business to business kind of arrangements and all that. You can start doing all of that as a business owner. Now, how does all this whole conversation about networking work? It's called the push and the pull. And the push and pull is a marketing term. But you also need to understand that as somebody in networking, you are basically a marketing person. You are a business developer or a marketer. That's how you need to see yourself at the basics. That's the basic thing you do in networking. So when you are doing your networking, you are trying to market. But in this case, you are not selling a good. You may not even be selling a service, but you are selling your skills. You are presenting your skills for employment. So, but the idea of how you come into a place and you need to create attention for people to notice the good you are bringing to sell, that's also the way you need to be able to create attention for people to notice your skills and notice the knowledge you have for which they should pay you. And there are different ways you can do this. You can do it through your posts. You can do it in the inbox. You can do it through your questions in conferences. You can do it by different means. You can do it through your publications as well. And remember that we are planning an event or a workshop on how to write journal papers for publications. So you can showcase these things through your blogs, through your newsletters. You want to create attention around your skills, because without that attention around your skills, you may not find anybody who is going to pay you. Now, this now ties back to all the conversations we had yesterday about how to write your CV, how to write your SOP, because these are your representatives, of course, in addition to your social media profiles. But when you submit an application somewhere, your CV becomes your representative, and that CV and cover letter should be able to create that attention around your profile, or to draw that attention to your profile, that this is who this person is and this is what this person can do. All right, so learn to do what? To market your skill. And the way you do it is, you must first understand that those who have the opportunities you are looking for and those who manage the opportunities, that's your seniors, they are interested in connecting with you. There are a lot of people who come into networking with a lot of fear and a lot of ideologies, a lot of shyness. You need to break that fear and know that people are interested in connecting with you, so long as you have value, so long as you have some skills. So you need to package your connection requests effectively. Don't send random ones, send the personalized ones, and hit the right questions to address the right things when you send the personalized invites. It could be what you found about that person that makes you interested in wanting to connect, or the benefit the person can also have when he or she connects with you, or what exactly is the reason. Convince that person to connect with you. That's basically what you do in the note you add to your personalized invitation. Then there are times when people will not connect, they will not accept your connection request, but you know that the reason you are looking for these people is, one, to be able to showcase your skills to them and your knowledge, but the other thing is to be able to see opportunities when they post them. So because you want to see opportunities when they post them, you can follow the person. And sometimes when you send a connection request and the person does not accept, your follow, the person gets that notification that this person has followed you, and the person can then go back to connect. Sometimes it says follow and connect. That's what you want to do. Then you need to learn to practice the attitude of gratitude. I touched on this when I talked about nurturing your network. You must, be grateful to people when they bring you into their network. Then again, you need to create the right message, and you need to understand the needs of the company. You see, I mentioned that there are times when you don't need to go through those 3 stages of connecting, nurturing, and all that, because the company or the person has a need for you. Understanding the need of a company or the need of a person makes your networking journey a whole lot easier. It makes it a whole lot easier. So if you have somebody who you want to connect with, or a company you are interested in working for, and you have understood the need of the company, the pain points of the company, then you are able to package a better solution, a solution that is easily acceptable, or you are able to highlight the aspects of your skills that are relevant to solving that particular problem. That's why you need to understand the need of the people. And if you are going into any conference, you need to, and you have a target, like there are people you want to speak with, or people from certain companies you want to speak with, you need to go do your background check. Try to understand what are the pain points, what are the needs, what are the opportunities. Because when you have all these things, it makes the conversation easier. It helps you to create the right message. If you don't know the need of a company, you don't know the opportunities in a company, you don't know the pain points of the company, then how do you create a message for the company that is going to get the attention of the people? if you are going somewhere in a professional conference and you need to make a presentation, don't just write a presentation and go there to present the technical things that you have done if you are in the sciences. What you need to do is also think about the need of those who are coming for that conference, because a conference is one of the greatest opportunities you have to network in person with people and to showcase your skills, especially if you're having a presentation. Then don't create that presentation around all the technicalities, solely around the technicalities that the people may not understand. Create a story that lets the people see the business value of your presentation to them. How does your presentation help them? Of what relevance is this thing you are talking about? Can they make use of it? Can it solve their problem today? Can it solve their problem tomorrow? Showcase those things and let them see the need of engaging you further. Creating the right message also goes to when you ask questions. If you're going to ask a question, try to think of a question that opens the next door of further networking to you. If I go for conferences or for events, sometimes I ask questions, a certain kind of questions sometimes that lets me secure a slot to talk with the person who answers that question or some other person in that particular forum after the event, because normally in conferences there will be a networking session. So when I ask those kind of questions, I know that the answers will come, but even the answer will open the door for further conversations during the networking session. And it also it creates an impression of you in the mind of the person, so that even if that person is very senior and traditionally would want to go and chat with his fellow senior professionals to catch up, but the person, you have left a bell in the mind of the person through the question or through the contribution. So when you come and you meet that person, the person will most likely and most often give you a chance to speak with him or to engage with her. And that then gives you the opportunity to sell your skills, to market your skills, and do all of those things. Now, let me give us some examples of what these conversations can look like, And these are the reasons why these things networking is approached. You just need to understand the basics and then be open to the different approaches to networking. You see, these are some conversations I've had with people on LinkedIn, but somehow I have tried to sort of shield the names of the people from the conversation, so you don't get to know who I am talking about or who I was talking to, because that would be unprofessional and unethical. So what I want to do here is to show you how conversations with your senior professionals, and why that conversation can come in different forms, and why you may not necessarily need to have that 20 days or 6 weeks window before you get to your networking phase. All right, so let's go into that, and then we see what we can do. All right, okay, so these are the slides just here. So when you go to this particular thing, you will find that the first message is a senior professional asking me, telling me that the person has seen something I did and the person is interested in that thing. So the way you progress that conversation is going to be different from the way you progress a conversation that you are starting from the onset. Then you will also see from these things that I've shown here that the way you are, the responses of the person will also give you an idea of what to respond next. And then, of course, you need to also see that there is need to practice that attitude of gratitude. And some of those people, there was this particular case where I was chasing the person to come do a training in the place I was working. And there was this challenging situation because he would go to the rig. I can't reach him while he's on the rig. and he can't respond while he's on the rig to my calls. But a lot of things went into it, trying to build that relationship and mature it to a point where he finally came to take that training and to do that course. So these are some of the things that you need to understand when it comes to networking. Manage the conversations properly and you will not have issues. All right. So then in the pool where you are in the networking phase and you are doing this reaching out to people, connecting with people as we've discussed, that's you like pushing on them, trying to get yourself out, get yourself to them. But in the pool, you are creating events around your profile that will bring the people inbound to you. And how do you achieve that? Number one is you need to create consistently. Now, to create consistently, you need to have a consistent flow of knowledge and a consistent flow of skills. Then you need to also position yourself for influence, and you need to take advantage of other people's posts. And you need to, of course, learn that you have to appreciate people, and you need to acknowledge the special skills of the people, their special achievements and their qualities and all of that. You need to you need to acknowledge all of those things, and that's what the flattery statement there sort of tries to highlight. But before we go into this demo session, I want to say something particularly that's relevant to every young graduate. You see, every person who is a young graduate, there is something that you need to do. And the first thing you need to do as a young person is to equip yourself with the right skills. I call it you learning. That's the learning phase. That's the point you are learning. And after you've learned all those things, you have finished your university education, you've gotten all those knowledge as a graduate. If there are areas that you need to touch up and you need to brush up, you need to go back, brush those things up, you need to improve, you need to, advance your skills, advance your knowledge and all that. But after you've done all those things, that's when your networking becomes useful. If you jump into networking without knowledge, you'll be wasting your time, and it will be effort in futility, because you hear people say that what you know doesn't matter. But they say that what you know doesn't matter, but then until you meet somebody or until you get that person who you think you want to know, and the person who you now know wants to find out what you already know. Because the person is trying to think of a place to fix you in his company or in her company, and you don't know anything that fits into any of those places. You'll now find out that who you know is important, but what you know is the foundation for knowing people and profitably so. What you know is the foundation for profitability in the people you know or with your knowing people. Now, after you've built your network, the other thing you need to develop as a young graduate is your ability to market yourself, your ability to sell yourself, your ability to convince somebody that you can solve this problem within a very short time. Because people are busy, people are distracted, there are a lot of things that they are doing. So you want to develop your ability to be able to market your skill within a short time. Once you're able to market your skill within a very short time, you have completed that 3 cycle, or you've ticked the 3 boxes that will position you for significant progress as a graduate. I believe that was clear, and if that was not clear, you can come back with a question and I will gladly answer. Okay, now let's go and have a look at a short demo that will teach you how to use LinkedIn. Just a summarized kind of demo. If you want a more deeper tutorial on how to use LinkedIn, you can go to on this particular YouTube channel, there's a video here that is titled, I think the thumbnail reads something like "Win Your Next Scholarship Using LinkedIn." If you can go through that video, you will see a whole lot of information on how to use LinkedIn. But for the sake of those who may not be patient enough, or may not have the data to go look at another video, let me show us something here just now. Okay. Yep. Let me show us something how to use this platform. Okay. So we call it, so we go to LinkedIn. I'm working from a laptop, and because I'm using a laptop, the things you see might be slightly different from what you will see on a mobile. All right, so this is what my LinkedIn profile looks like. And I don't know if we can see this screen clearly. I believe we can, but just in case you cannot see it, just drop me a message in the comment section and I will be doing some modifications. So this is a post that's by Dr. Anselm Chukwuemeka, and that's the first post that comes up on my profile today at this point. So I scroll down, I see this post by Peter, and then I scroll down, I see this one by Joshua. Now you can even look at something. Try to pay attention to what you are seeing here. I want to show us something. And this is the impact of being purposeful on your networking. So you see, this person, this my brother, and then you come down to this place, you see senior reservoir engineer. This is not too far from my field. And then you come down to this place, you can see international scholarship abound. This is somebody, a postdoctoral researcher, posting about a scholarship opportunity. And then you can see this young man here, Peter. He also talks a lot about scholarships in Canada. I think I understand he's in the US now for a conference or something, I don't know. Then there is Joshua. He says, glad to have hit 10,000 citations on Google Scholar. This is another person that talks about academic things sometimes. And then there is another post here. You can see another post, Chief Production Technologist. You can see another post, New Technology Allies, Permanent Magnet, Motor Safety Concerns. And you keep on seeing those posts. Now, I mentioned one professor who said that 50% of people who applied for an opportunity under her did not follow the instruction. This is her here, Rita Oji. And then you keep moving down, Student Affairs Program. This is SPE, relevant to my field. And you keep seeing all of these things going. This is another job advert. And the more I go down, the more opportunities we will see. This is another research assistantship position. And this is what your profile should look like. This is Cosmos. He also talks about scholarships. And we keep going. If we continue to scroll down, we'll continue to see professional development opportunities. In fact, now this is another training somebody is trying to organize that is very similar to what we are doing today, leveraging social media platform for scholarship search. This is not too far from what we are doing today. How did I know about this? These are people in the kind of network I have built. So let's go and try to do something practical. So your profile optimization, I talked about this before. And you can refer to the video. It's somewhere on one of the programs I did with young professionals from Akwa Ibom State. You can look at that. Time wouldn't let us go into that detail because we are running short of time. So I just want to show us how to find professors and how to find scholarship opportunities. So let's say I am looking for professors. So what I'll type in this search bar is to write professor. If you write professors, you will likely not get a very good response because professors with S is not a job title. But when you write it as professor as a job title, then press enter. This works on phones, it works on computers. Now, if you scroll down here, this is Prof. Alfred Akinsoya. This man very big time professor in one of the oil and gas schools. He taught my friend in Abu Dhabi at some point. And then you have all these other professors. But what I want to do first is I go to people, because when you write professor, professor can be in job titles, it can be posts, it can be in groups, it can be job advertisements, it can be anything. But what I want to look for are the professors who are people, like people who are professors, right? So I select people. And once I select people, you can see all these professors showing up here. I can connect with any of them. But I don't want to do that just yet. So I look at their locations. I want to look for professors who live in the United States. You can be looking for professors in Italy if you are looking for graduate assistantship opportunities in Italy, or professors in Scotland if you are looking for professors in Scotland. So I click on search, and then it gives me all these professors. So it's going to give me people who have a word professor in their job title. It could be associate, it could be assistant, it could be anything, but professor has to be there. Then I can even say that I am looking for professors in a particular school in the US. So I can choose Stanford. But I will advise against this as somebody who is looking for scholarships. Be open to more schools. Don't limit yourself to a single school. What you should rather do is come to these filters, all filters, and then try to go to the side that says keyword. Keyword. Just scroll down to the area that says keyword. So keywords here. What I want to do is to include in the title of the person that he has to be, let's say, in physics. So what I'm trying to achieve is to have a short list of professors of physics, professors who have something to do with physics. And once I apply that, I have all of these people here who are professors, but within the areas of physics, different spheres of physics. So the first person is Edward Whittaker. He's a professor of physics at Stevens Institute of Technology, Hoboken, New Jersey. The next person is Oluwaseyi, professor in medical physics. This school here has lots of scholarship opportunities. This is university. Then you have distinguished professor of physics and astronomy. This is another professor. Then professor of physics and department chair at Brigham Young University. And all of these professors, you have them here. Now, why do you want to connect with them? Let's say if I open the profile of the first person, let's open the profile of the second person, and I will show you something. If I scroll down on this profile and I come to show all posts or show all activities, I click on this, it opens. I have not connected yet, but if I was looking for a physics opportunity, I will connect. So this person, you can see some of the kind of posts he makes, crossroad, and all of that kind of thing. So he's most likely not posting. This professor is, let's see, okay, the last post was about a month ago. He reposted this. You may not, this person might not be very, very active on LinkedIn as in posting, but he's going to be one of those people who are actively looking at people's posts. Maybe. So I can send a connection request or I can follow. On the phone, you go to this, you will see something somewhere, you see 3 dots. I explained this in that video where you use how to use LinkedIn to win your next scholarship. You'll find it there. But on a laptop, I click on that connect and I can say add personalized, add a note. On a mobile, it will show you add your, if on a mobile, it will show you to add it will show you personalized invite, and that's the one you want to use. But here I click on connect, but because I have used up my connection, my personalized invites for this month, I cannot go further than this. But I can add a connection, add a note, and then it will open a space for me here to type something and then send out the connection request. So let's look at Sheyi's own profile. You look at Sheyi, he looks very much more active. You can see honored to be recognized. You can see a lot of things that he has posted in recent. This may not even be too recent, but it's obvious that he's using LinkedIn. He might not be posting every day, but he uses the platform. If I look at his reactions, let's see. Okay, this was 13 hours ago. So this man is very active on LinkedIn. You can see that he reacted to a post that was made 13 hours ago. So he's active on the platform. But let's check his post and see. You might find him posting a graduate assistantship position just somewhere on his profile. If you go through that profile, you may see something of that kind. You see, join the Advanced Molecular Image Radiotherapy Lab as a postdoctoral fellow. So this is an opportunity in their school that he reposted. And those are the kind of things you will see with these professors. So now imagine that you connect with Shei or you open his profile. You will see that many of the other people who are going to be suggested to you by the side, recommended profiles, are also going to be professors, some of them. You see this one here is a professor because you are looking at this person's profile. I have some mutual connections with him. But if you connect with him, then you have access to all his own connections. Now, let's look at this post here where he made a comment or he reposted. Then, and look at the quality of the people who are commenting. And that is why this is how you take advantage of other people's connection. You see, this one is a graduate student. This one is a manager. This one is a director. This one is a psychologist. And this is just a post that he reposted. This is a professor emeritus. This is someone in his school. This is mechanical engineering student. And it goes on and on and on and on. So you are finding students from his school, you are finding professors, you are finding other professionals. That is you taking advantage of his network. If I came to this place now and wrote a comment, all these people, all these 146 people that have reacted to this post will see that I commented. And then let's just say that I write something like congratulations and best wishes. Right? Let's say I write something like this. So if I write this and post it, all those people there will get the notification. And if I was looking for something that is relevant to any of them, or I have a profile that is optimized in a way that solves the problem of any of them, the person can reach out to me. And that's how you find these professors. If you are from a maths background, all you just needed to do was to change the keyword to maths. And let's even do it. Let's say I change the keyword to, let's say chemistry. But any other field, you can just change it. Let's say chemistry. All right, chemistry. Or even education. If you write professors in education, you will see the thing as well change. So, what do we do? So now, let's see what's going on here. Just a moment. So I put, so let's say I put chemistry. And then after I put chemistry, I click on show results. What's going on? Okay, this is supposed to change, but since it's not changing, then let's go back to the main place. You see, it's still picking physics here. What's going on? I don't know. Yeah, but the point is that once you change this to, let's say, chemistry at this point, it's supposed to give us the new set of professors who come from a chemistry background. Oh yeah, so now it works. And you can see them, Femi Oloye. I don't know if I got the Oloye correctly. You can see Stan, you can see Peter, you can see Ken. All these people, they are people from the chemistry background. And that's how you use LinkedIn for your search for scholarships. The other way you can use it is to now come here and write research assistants. Or let's say graduate assistant. When you write graduate assistant, then you are going to now be looking for it in jobs. I'm not looking for groups, I'm looking for just assistants. I'm going to be looking for it in posts and in jobs. So I click on jobs and then I click on posts, and you can find all the things that have that kind of relationship. So these ones are giving us most of the job like in the industry. So if it's giving us jobs in the industry, I can go out from here and then right click on posts so that I can see the posts that people have made that has that subject of graduate assistant. And you begin to find many of those ones here. This is fashion whatever. So let's make it a bit more streamlined so that we can get all that we want to get. Or instead of that, maybe we can even go a more broad pattern and write just scholarships. Okay, scholarships. And then once we write scholarships, we then can go to posts, and there should be a place where we can filter this by latest. So we are taking the most recent, of course we can choose maybe posts that have been made in the past 24 hours, and then we see what that entails. So exciting news, this post is just made like a minute ago if I'm not mistaken. The 2025 Standard Bank Scholarship Program for Studies at University of Mauritius is now open. So if you're following us from Mauritius, this is a scholarship that just dropped right now. Then this ones as well, ICM set a fundraising record during this fiscal year. University of South Florida sets new record of philanthropic support. What's this supposed to be? Where is scholarship here? Yeah, so you can find the word scholarship here. Thank you, donors, for generously invested in us. So you will keep finding everything that has the word scholar. Oh, I wrote scholarships. That's it. So I could change that to scholarship and we'll see all the changes. And I can go to these all filters and then try to modify the things that I want to filter that post by. And that will be something that you also can do. But get connected with the professors, start networking, and start building a robust network with professors, with the associate professors, with the doctorate degree holders, and with the doctorate degree students. Remember that we discussed that you have to follow the alumni, and that is the short demo I wanted to do. So the final closing words in the next two slides. The first thing is all the tips that we mentioned, all the things we discussed today, if you don't develop these skills that are here, you will continue to struggle with networking, whether in person or virtually. First of all, you need to build up your confidence. And to help you with your confidence, I have emphasized that all the people, the senior professionals, they are interested in connecting with you. All right? The professors are interested in connecting with you. When we talked about scholarships, I emphasized the fact that the professors even need you. As much as you need the scholarship, the professors need you to deliver on those graduate assistantships. Then you need to build your confidence knowing that they need you and they want to collect and they are willing to connect with you. That's the first one. The other thing is you need to stay informed. Staying informed can be to know the nature of what is going on in the industry, to know where there is a need, to know when there are opportunities, to know when there are adverts, to know all of this and all of that. Because once you are informed, you are able to make the right decisions and you are able to make the right pitches. The other aspect of staying informed is you knowing what you say you know. Knowing, learning and developing new knowledge, advancing your skills is also you staying informed. The other one is you must learn to listen actively when you go into networking. Don't be the parrot. Don't be the talkative. Don't be the one who talks without listening. You must learn to listen in networking. It helps because when you listen, you get feedback. When you listen, in the listening phase, you are also polishing up your next sentence. You are polishing up your next pitch. Learn to listen and pay good attention to what the people are saying. The other thing is you must learn to tell stories, storytelling. You must learn the art of storytelling, because if you don't coin your expertise, if you don't build your value into a story, it sometimes is not very interesting to listen to. But if you're able to build your package, what you are selling, the skill set, the knowledge set, the thing you are looking for into a story, then you can sell it very easily. The people will be very engaged. They will be very engrossed in your storytelling. You can start from discussing the problem, and then discussing the solution, and discussing how your skills can solve that problem. That's in form of a story. If you don't know how to tell a story, you can always refer back to the writing strategies we discussed. If you apply the STAR approach, that will always lead you to a story kind of write-up. And if you apply it in speaking, it will always lead you to a story kind of write-up. If you apply the 5W as well, it's going to lead you to a story kind of speech and a story kind of write-up. And these are some of the key things you must do. Public speaking is something that many people fear, but you need to break that fear by starting to speak. Pick up a camera, look at yourself and speak to yourself, build the confidence, and if you do have the opportunity to make a presentation, make your presentation very interesting, very engaging, very interactive. All right? Now, in closing, if you have learned anything through these events, just let me know in the comments section if it was useful to you. And we will be bringing the events to an end just very shortly. But I would like to know, what do you think of these 3-day events? Has it been useful? Have you found it valuable? Do you think it was worth it? Do you think we should do another segment of this? And just your general opinion about the 3-day workshop. I will also be posting a survey for us to fill. If you have not filled the survey before, I will be glad if you can share your opinion and your thoughts about this particular event with me, and I will really be grateful. But before we start departing today, I want to emphasize something. It's good to talk, it's good to attend workshops, it's good to look at slides, it's good to do all of these things, it's good to engage, to spend the time on something profitable and all that and all that. But if you do not implement the things we are saying, we would have wasted our time, and you would have wasted your own time as well. So the point is that you must now go back after this 3-day event and show up. You must now go back after these 3-day events and show up. The reason you need to show up is because this world is too distracted. And because the world is distracted, the world will easily forget the person who doesn't show up. And I'm going to be more specific. The world is going to forget the young graduates who does not show up. If you are a graduate and you want to be relevant, you want people to, hear about you, you want to get these opportunities, you need to show up. That's the truth of the matter. And in showing up, you can show up in conferences, you can show up on social media. I do both. And if you don't have the resources to attend conferences I have mentioned, use your social media platforms effectively. And why do you even need to show up again? 80% of success is in showing up because most people are intimidated by the public. a majority of people or a good number of people are intimidated by the public. That's why if you attend a conference, for instance, a conference of say 100 people, when the time for question and answers come, you may not have up to, even if you give like time for questions and the time is sufficient, you may not have more than 10 people out of that 100 who will rise up to ask a question, because most people are intimidated when it comes to the public. They don't just have the boldness to ask those questions. They don't have the boldness to rise up in those occasions and to speak. But once you're able to break that barrier, then you're already ahead of many people, because you are able to show up now. And once you're able to show up, then you are able to create, remember I said create attention around your skills, create attention around your knowledge, create attention around the service you offer, create attention around your goods. That's the same principle that works for marketing of goods, marketing of services, and marketing of your skills. Create attention around yourself. And how do you achieve that? You can do it in the inbox. You can do it in the open box. But if you choose to do it in the inbox, it has its own level of impact. If you choose to do it in the open box, it has its own level of impact. And that is why I call what you are seeing here the impact funnel. So the impact funnel just tells you that if you remain in the inbox of people, you are writing in the inboxes only, reaching out to people on the inbox, that's you pushing on the people, if we use that push and pull terminology. But the impact is just this narrow end of the funnel. You cannot reach many people. You cannot reach as many people as you should by doing the inbox thing. You cannot have the bigger impact if you remain in the inbox thing. And also remember that beyond getting scholarships and beyond getting jobs, you also should be thinking about how do you impact your generation and how do you impact the generation after you. If you stay in the inboxes, the messages will be limited to a few eyes. But if you stay in the open box, then more people can benefit from the good knowledge that you have. More people can benefit from your skills. More people can benefit from the capacity you have. More people can profit from your presence and your existence. So in the impact funnel, I would rather that you do inboxes when the inboxes are relevant, but also learn to stay in the open box. That's where the opportunities can trace you to. If you stay in the inboxes only, you will be the one constantly looking for opportunities. But the moment you move to the open box, then you will begin to get more opportunities to yourself. There was a video I did some time ago, and I will refer you to it because time is already against us. I will not be able to go into the details of how to manage conversations with senior professionals completely. But that video is on this YouTube channel. Go look for it, Managing Conversations with Senior Professionals. I think that's the title of the video. But what that video teaches you is that a time also comes when you need to move your conversation from the inboxes of people to the open box, because senior professionals will not be on their inboxes to respond to your messages every day. And sometimes your message in their inboxes can get lost. But if you're able to create the kind of message, the kind of content that will always catch their attention in the open box, it will not just catch their own attention, it will also catch the attention of other senior professionals within that industry based on the network that you've built. And that's where you begin to take big profit of the kind of knowledge you share. If I create a content today and I post it in my open box, that's on my profile, and you react to it, I will also be taking advantage of your own network, because that reaction will be shown to people in your network that you reacted to this person's post. And when you make those reactions, I am gaining. But imagine that I sent you that message in your inbox. Even if you appreciated me or you liked the message, there will not be any other person who gets to know that you liked the message. So if a message is not supposed to be private, there are private messages that should remain in the inbox. But when you think of sharing your knowledge, when you think of creating your content, then think of the open box, because that is where your impact becomes more significant. So learn to operate in the inbox, but also understand when the need comes to move to the open box. And if you are looking for a scholarship, I can tell you today that you have that need to operate in the open box. The kind of content you should be creating should showcase what you are interested in, showcase the capacity you've got in that field, and showcase the skills you've got in that field, and showcase how those skills can be integrated with the knowledge you have to solve a problem in the research area you are interested in. The same thing applies to those who are looking for jobs. Just change the word scholarship and put job there. Change the word professor and associate professor and put CEOs and put HR people and put managers. Those are the people you are interested in, and those are some of the differences. Let me sip some water and then we'll make a closing remark. Now, I don't know how many of us here have seen this passage of the scripture, but there is something the Bible talks about, and this is something I believe in, this is something I practice, and this is something I've witnessed manifest in people's lives. Ask and it shall be given unto you. But of course, before you start asking God for something, please make your ways right with God, because God is a righteous God, and you don't live unrighteously and ask God for benefits. You need to make your ways right with God. But when you ask God of something, whether it is spiritual or it is physical, if you ask, you will get it, so long as that thing aligns with God's will for you. Then the other thing is you need to knock on doors. How do you knock on doors? Knocking on doors is the very first stage of networking, and it can be in different formats. But you must also remember that even when you knock on doors, some doors will not open on first attempt. The security man might come out to ask you, who are you? And that is why this additional networking tip of being persistent comes. You must learn to be persistent when you knock. If you might knock and the person doesn't answer at first time, that doesn't mean you should run away, or that you should never try to network with people of the same level again. That's not the way it works. Be persistent, because some doors will not open immediately. And if you come from certain backgrounds, you know that you need to knock on doors by yourself. There are backgrounds you come from, and many doors will be open to you before you even get to the door. Like your dad has done something, your mom has done something, your uncle has done something, or your elder brother has done something there. Your surname is big and speaks volumes. But there are some other backgrounds where you come from, and you have to create your own success. You have to build your own the success story of the family, and that is when you need to know that you have to knock. If you knock and is not opening, knock again. If the door is not meant for you, there will be an alternative door that you will knock on and will open. And there are times when people are genuinely not in the position to offer you help. In that case, look for people in the same category. If the drilling supervisor in one company cannot help you, look for the drilling supervisor in another. If the head teacher in one school cannot help you, look for the head teacher in another. If the chief economist in one place or the chief accountant in one place can't help you, look for another chief accountant somewhere. And by the time you do all of these things, you will see that doors will open, and you will see that you will find opportunities. But you find opportunities, that is one. The doors open, that is two. Then you also need to now understand that after you've done all that you have done, you need to put your trust in God, because it's not of him that willeth, and it's not even of him that runneth. It's not everybody who submits applications that gets scholarships. There are times when you submit an amazing application, but you don't get the scholarship. Not because your application is not good, but somehow there's somebody else who has got a bigger application. And some other times, maybe because there are a whole lot of things that can come into this on the spiritual level, but you need to now put your trust in God, and then that's why you need to learn to commit your ways into the hands of God, and you need to learn to commit your steps into the hands of God and let God order your steps. Remember, 80% of success is in showing up. That was me. And let's see if I can take one or two questions. You can always ask your questions on the WhatsApp group, on Facebook, But if you have any questions at this point, please drop those questions in the comment section and let me see them. And if you have not filled this form, please go ahead and fill the form for me. I will really appreciate that. It's been a very educative session. My opinion is to also conduct one in Zoom, making it more engaging, like having breakout sessions. This is nice. This is nice. Sheikh Ahmed, this is nice. I love that. So question, while doing the LinkedIn account demo, I saw the bar giving positioning first, second, third. What does that imply? Okay, so the positioning is a reference to the layer of your network with the person. So if you open, because networks can be in 3 layers. You know, somebody can be your primary network. That's somebody you're already connected with. That's number 1, and that's the position first. Then there is a secondary layer, which is the second phase or the second category of networks you can have. So those ones are people that are connected to your first connections. So your primary connection is A, but A is connected to B, to whom you are not connected yet. So A is your connection 1, and then B is your connection 2. The third position is A is your primary connection, who is connected to B, but B is also connected to C, to whom you are not connected. You are not connected to B, you are not connected to C, but you are connected to A. So your first degree network is A, your second degree network is B, your third degree network is C. But very often, if you already have a network of, and this is even more relevant to those who are just starting out on LinkedIn, good question. If you don't have a network that, if your network is 0, then you might realize that there are certain number of profiles or certain kind of profiles that LinkedIn will not allow you to access. You can't even send those people connection requests. But what you do normally in that circumstance is look for, that's where your alumni group comes in. Look for people from your alumni, people who share the same kind of either work history or education history. They've gone to the same school. Connect with many of them at the very first stage of your networking, like when you just open a LinkedIn account. Connect with many of those people so that you can now have multiple secondary and tertiary, second degree and third degree networks. And once you begin to have those multiple second degree and third degree network, you can then begin to access more profiles than you would be able to access from the very first day of your creating a LinkedIn account. That's how that one works. Generally, it's an informative session. For the very first time in my life, I was consistent in all the 3 days. Oh wow, this is amazing. Ezekiel Babatunde, this is something really, this is a very good feedback from you. Good to also know that you made it for the 3 days. And then Abasi Freke says, thank you very much, sir. It is very impactful. Question, please, sir, does scholarship cover accommodation and okay? So it depends. There are scholarships that will cover everything. The one that is funding my PhD covers everything. It covered everything. It covers my school fees. In fact, I even don't know the day they pay the school fees. The school fees just happens between the scholarship institution, between PTDF and the school. They just pay, and then it covers my living allowance in the UK. It covered my visa application fee. It covers my transportation to the UK, and then we cover my transportation back to Nigeria after graduation. If at the point to and fro. From the day you are coming and after you graduate, it covers it. And then it also covers conference attendances. The conference I will be attending in Lagos in August will be covered by PTDF, up to $2,000 per conference. Like you do your estimates and then they will pay either exactly what you spent, but not more than $2,000. So it depends on the scholarship, but any scholarship that's the WhatsApp link, I may not be able to drop it here now because I'm working from my laptop and I don't use WhatsApp on my laptop. But if you are following us on Facebook, then we can write a post and share the WhatsApp link there. That was it today, Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. If you have a friend or you belong to any group of recent graduates, please copy the links to these videos and share it with them. I'm going to put the 3 days into a playlist, and then you can copy that playlist and share with them. I would be glad if you can write a post about these events on LinkedIn or on Facebook, just a small post about what you learned, a small summary of why you think any other person should watch any of these videos. Just write any of those posts, copy this link and post there. That will be your, how do I call it? Let that be your gratitude for the 3 days and for the time we've spent, for the knowledge that you have gained. Thanks so much for joining today. I wish all of you the very best in your scholarship search and your job search. If you are from Nigeria, know that NNPC is open now and people are applying. There are graduate roles there. If you are in doubt as to whether people can get it on merit, well, I cannot tell the future, but I know that the last edition of hiring the NNPC did, there were people who got the job on merit. I know at least 3 persons, 1 person from Edo State, 1 person from Akwa Ibom State, another person from Enugu State, who got the jobs without knowing anybody. And just take that courage and give it your best shot if you are from Nigeria. NNPC is hiring now. Go there, drop an application and pray over it. Do your best. Follow the tips we shared.